I put my heel in his hand, and he threw me up in the air, big guy. And I literally just started flying up in the air. And as I came down to the earth, the water receded, so there was no more water left. And I landed on my face. I knew Mark Wahlberg before the show. And Mark is one of these fascinating guys who has an entourage, and there is a Johnny Drama, and a Turtle and an E, and Ari Emanuel, you know. And I knew all the players, and I just thought, these are such specific, brilliant archetypes, we have to do it.
Was it always in the works? Was it always the plan? Did you sign up for it early on?
Well, I did sign up for it early on. I was the first one in. But you know what's interesting is I remember the last day of filming, and I didn't feel sad. There was something, and not to say that I'm clairvoyant in any way, but it just didn't feel like the end. It didn't feel like the end. It didn't have that sinking feeling. So I didn't know what was next, but I just knew it wasn't the end. And we pick up 6 months after that phone call in Italy.
Is the reason he brings out the best in people. We ran these lines, and he comes up to me before we start shooting, and we go over the script, and you said, I'll say this, then you say that, then you got this line, then I'll say that. And we go down and down. And then he says, and down here, I'm going to begin to blurt out a vulgarity.
Yeah.
And your job is to interrupt me and remind me that we're on live television so that I don't actually get to say it. And I said, I've got it. I know my lines. Let's go. And the director comes over, and the cameras move in, and the guy yells, action, and we go. And I say my line, and Jeremy says his line. And I say my second, and he says his. And now we're like 15 seconds from where we made the deal that he was going to blurt out the vulgarity, and he blurts it out. I can't even repeat to you what he said, but it was something about, in my next job, I'm not going to be a writer because writers, boom. And he says, and I looked at him like, what the?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and in that instant you looked at me, I realized you did it on purpose. That you did it because that's the look you were trying to get from me,
Yeah.
and you didn't trust that when I got down here, I was going to be able to pull it off.
Well,
It's true, isn't it?
It's not that I didn't trust, it's just that I knew you weren't a good actor. No, I'm just kidding.
I love this question. Knowing how chicks dig scars, and knowing that most scars have a story, how did you get that?
I've never told the story. It was, growing up, we didn't have any money, and it was from a theater family, and you don't make any money in the theater. And I somehow scraped enough money to go on spring. No more water left. And I landed on my face, and it just exploded, you know, right up here. It was like a huge hematoma. I went to the doctor, and in the ER room, I could tell the guy that was stitching me up was new. Because we didn't have any money for a hotel room, I had to sleep in the same bed as Dickie Paul, who snored. So I couldn't sleep, go in the water, or the sun for my entire spring break.
Jeremy, we were on the phone the other day talking, and you told me a funny story. I think it was Pearl?
Pearl, my niece.
Pearl, your niece. Tell them the story.
Oh, for me, I was like, I can't. My sister's baby is about to be born. That was 10 years ago. So Pearl is now 10, and I was at her birthday party. She didn't invite me, but I showed up. And so Pearl, in the middle of dinner, said, very seriously, I have the soul of an African-American soul singer. Yeah. And just stared at me. And yes, of course you do, Pearl. Yes, you do. And I'll just give you a little background about Pearl. Pearl, I was doing, and she meant it, and she's just sharing. She's a little force to be reckoned with. I was doing a school play with her, and I was doing King Lear with her. She's in the Younger Shakespeare Company. She's not very ambitious. And so we're on a stage like this, and you know, my sister was directing us, and Pearl turns to me as, you know, I just finished Mr. Selfridge, and I said to my sister, I'll do anything you want. I just don't want to memorize lines right now. just give me a, and she goes, King Lear. King Lear is the most dense of all Shakespeare's work. So, I'm working hard. I'm up there with Pearl, and she just turns to me and she goes, do you think this is fun for me? So she is a diva. She is
at 10.
At 10, she is incredibly opinionated, with almost no information, which is it's an interesting combination. You know what I mean? It's fascinating to be around. She asked me if I worked for the bus company, and I said, why? And she goes, because I saw you on the side of a bus. I was like, well, no. I was like, well, no, Uncle Jeremy is an actor, and that was a promotion. And she just goes, whatever, and just kind of walks away.